welcome to I Thought You Might Like. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so probably notice I'm wearing the same outfit. It's because I make content, a lot of content on the same day, and I really like this jacket. And in Hawaii, it's windy, which means that it's cold because it's not like 80 degrees. So I'm a little chilly. So this is my jacket. So, anyways, let's get into it. So, I have been watching, as y'all probably are expecting, I've been watching some shows, recently. I keep wanting to call it stuff. So, if anyone has like better words or whatever, please let me know. So, I, okay, y'all. So, I am obsessed with the show Yellowjackets, and I thought y'all would love this show if you're into anything cult related, cult adjacent. This is, in my opinion, not a typical sort of survivor sort of show. I think there's a lot of shows out there that are kind of focused on survival. I think that the Yellow Jackets is most often compared to Lord of the Flies. I think it kind of has similar sort of a similar vibe. I've actually never read Lord of the Flies. I know that that's usually a book that people read in school. I never actually read it, but I have heard about the comparison of those two. Um, and I think one of my favorite things about the show, besides the acting, I mean, you have great actors like Juliette Lewis, Melanie Linsky, and oh gosh, and oh, Christina Ricci. How could I forget? Yes, you have great actors, and also some of the younger kids on the show. Because what I do like about the show is that it's told in like multiple perspective. So you have the kids or this soccer team. Um, this is my first time, y'all. So let me take a step back. Let's take a step back. I'm assuming that y'all have even heard of Yellow Jackets, but some of you probably haven't. So got a little ahead of myself. Please forgive me about that. So let's take a step back. So let me first tell you what the show's about. So Yellowjackets, it's in season 2 right now. I'll try my best not to give spoilers away. I'm somebody who actually really loves spoilers. So I'll try my best not to, but the main sort of synopsis of this show. And I think that if I'm not doing the best job, something like Wikipedia definitely has just a good overview. So it's a drama, and it has an ensemble cast. So it basically follows a group of teenagers who that's a soccer team, and they were able to get farther in their soccer. I think they're like in I think they're only high schoolers. But anyways, they're basically going to go and play a tournament. And they get on an airplane to go to this tournament that I think is supposed to be in like Seattle or the Pacific Northwest. And well, they don't make it because the plane crashes in the middle of the forest, which I think later on, or I think the showrunner said that it was supposed to be that the plane crashes like in Canada. So it goes way, way like off course of where they're supposed to be ending up. So there's a horrific plane crash. Some people definitely die. It is quite gory. So if anyone out there is not into that, I unfortunately don't recommend the show for you. But if you're okay with some gore, then yes, please. I feel like y'all would love it. But anyway, so there's a plane crash, and so the main focus of the show is kind of in the beginning like a survival story. How are all these young women, girls, going to basically survive? How are they going to get out of the woods? So you kind of have that storyline going on, which is like in the 90s. I think the plane crash was like 95, 96. And then you also have kind of this additional timeline where you're looking at the now women, I think like a couple decades later, who survived, and what their life is like, and sort of you can see them all being haunted by what happened to them in the woods. So that's sort of the main big like overview synopsis of the story. And so Now I'm gonna kind of get into why I think y'all would like it. So I thought y'all would like this because, if you're into, again, survival stories, I think this is a really interesting take on survival stories. If you're interested in anything sort of cult related, which I am, I'm working on a novel that actually talks about cults, or it has a cult in it. So I've been trying to consume more cult content to kind of learn more about that. A quick side note, if y'all are into podcasts, I highly recommend the podcast Sounds Like a Cult. Fabulous podcast. I'll probably do a separate episode about it because I really love that podcast. So, anyways, I think y'all would like the show if you're even vaguely interested in, cults, survival, and I think if y'all are interested in sort of the supernatural. So, I think one of the things I really like most about this show, and like I said, y'all, I listen to quite a lot of content. So I do also listen to another podcast called Pop Culture Happy Hour. Again, super recommend that. And I listen or watch some YouTube channels, Think Story and Heavy Spoilers. And I also enjoy the another YouTube channel called Lessons from the Screenplay. And they also have a podcast called Beyond the Screen Beyond this. Oh my god. Okay. Uh, okay. I just wanted to give a credit to the a couple of YouTube channels that I watch because I got this sort of idea from them. So I've listened to the YouTube channels Heavy Spoiler, Think Story, and Lessons from the Screenplay. They also have a podcast called Beyond the Screenplay. I get the two mixed up, but it's one of those. So, anyways, they talked about the fact that, the show is interesting, and I agree with it. The show is interesting because it's really playing around with this fine line of, is this the supernatural, or is this can this be explained through sleep deprivation, starvation, and just pure like adrenaline and fear that all these young women are experiencing? Because you get a lot of scenes, especially in the first season, of the young women in the forest and just all of this creepy stuff happening to them. You have this like apparition of this man with no eyes. You have this like kind of odd symbol that they're not quite sure like where it came from. You have a seance in the first season as well, especially this one character named Lottie, who you see also as an adult, which really I feel like the show creators looked at Teal Swan as a real world like template for Lottie's like character design. If you don't know who Teal Swan is, there's a really interesting documentary about her on Hulu. I would say that she's a cult leader, a kind of a modern day cult leader, but that's a story for another time. So, anyways, yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about this show is that sort of fine line between, is this supernatural, or is this just, things that happen to the mind and the body under such stressful circumstances? And I think that that creates really interesting tension, and tension is so key in storytelling. It really drives the momentum of stories, and that tension doesn't go away when the kids are young. All these young women, as when you see them as adults, are dealing with the repercussions of what happened to them, all the trauma. But there is still elements of the supernatural that you can see happening in present day, and I find that really fascinating. If I had to really say maybe one thing of why I think y'all might like this, I would say it's because of that element. And again, the acting is fabulous. I really think the cinematography is interesting. I had a chat with one of my other friends and said that this show feels like it's multiple shows in one. Um, I'm not sure if I 100% agree, but I do think that it's interesting seeing kind of, because I think because it's an ensemble cast, right? So you're kind of like you're seeing what this character is doing, you're seeing what this other character is doing, you're seeing what this other character is doing. And I think that's what happens in the real world. It's not like all these women are going to be together all at the same time. Their lives are interconnected in some way. But yeah, so I think that that is probably one of the most interesting aspects of the show. I think that I would really love to hear what y'all think, and if you have a favorite character. I find all the characters really fascinating, and I think in season 2, which just came out on Hulu recently, I think they're on episode maybe 3 or 4. I think that we're kind of, now that everything has set up, right? I think season 1, you're trying to kind of get like a general grasp of what is happening. I think in season 2, you're kind of getting to sort of see the characters a little bit more. So, Christina Ricci's character, her name is Misty. I find that character really fascinating. This sort of underlying anger and rage and oddity that she has, sort of masked by this very bubbly kind of personality. I think her character is really interesting. I think Melanie Linsky's character of Shauna is also very fascinating. Um, I guess big like trigger warning for this second season, which I guess this might be a spoiler, so like plug y'all's ear if you don't want to hear this. But there is cannibalism in the show, so if that is something y'all don't even want to witness, I would not recommend this. But if you're okay with watching it, then again, I think y'all would like it. I think one of the most interesting characters too is Thaisa's character, who's played by Tawny Cypress and Jasmine Savoy Brown. Um, Thaisa's character, I find I find her and Lottie's character to be the most almost disturbing. Like if I had to pick a character where I'm like, wow, that's some creepy stuff happening to them, I think I would choose those two. And I think that those two characters have the most elements of the supernatural. I think Lottie uh, gets sort of these interesting premonitions. If I'm not mistaken, her character has schizophrenia, um, but she has these sort of premonitions and predictions that end up sort of happening and coming true that you can see in the show. And then Thaisa's character, her sleepwalking is just wild. Like if that happened to me, I would be so terrified. And I think in season 2, it's just like amping up and ramping up. And I think that they're going to be playing more with that character. So yeah, there's so much in this show. Maybe I'll do a part 2. Again, I'm very new to this, so thank you all for listening to my kind of rambling and before I said like my opinions, but really these are just like suggestions that I think y'all would like this show. I find it really fascinating, interesting. Yeah, so I hope you like my little shindig, my little like stuff that I'm saying. Yeah, and I would love to hear what y'all think in like the comments below. I also have an Instagram. It's I thought you might like underscore 808 if you want to DM me or whatever. I love hearing other suggestions of TV shows to watch or just people's opinions and kind of having a conversation like via the internet, a respectful conversation. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on I Thought You Might Like. It was cool.